Hi, everyone. Welcome again to another episode of Roaming Reviews with Roaming Shadow. I'm Sugey Cruz.
And I'm Greg Papa.
We're missing Austin Green again. This time he was Amish?
Yeah, he's been Amish. I think you're Amish too, right?
I'm not Amish.
She's Amish.
I'm really not. No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. But he actually is playing an Amish person, which he'll have to tell us a story about the next time we see him.
Or else.
But today we bring you the first of our kind of disappointed reviews. So we've been on track reviewing different films that have been nominated now at this point officially by the Oscars. And Dune 2 is one of the films that was nominated for several, including Best Picture. And while I would agree with some of the visual and production design categories, perhaps, Best Picture's rough on me. I'm not
We'll
gonna
see.
lie. We'll see.
We'll see. Best Picture this year. It's a dubious category.
Yeah. So that's our feeling. We actually had such a controversial take on it that we did a poll, which actually didn't end up being as controversial as we thought. There weren't that many of you that had a hot take that it deserved one.
Well, I think 80% of our viewers thought it was either great or really good, and 20% that sort of shared more of our view. So let's get into it.
Yes.
I watched the first Dune film came out, 2021. I watched it. I love Denis Villeneuve. He's one of my favorite directors. He's one of my favorite directors of all time, actually. I mean, Enemy, Sicario, Incendies, Polytechnique, Blade Runner 2040, like pretty much every film he's done, I've been right there along the way, and loving them. Prisoners, every single one has just been like really spectacular. Arrival, like every single film he's done has been amazing. And I watched the first one, and I was just kind of like, yeah, this is a sci-fi film. That's like it's all right, I guess. I mean, I'm very much on record as not being the biggest Timothée Chalamet fan in the world. But I was willing to be like, all right, well, I love the rest of this cast and I love Denis Villeneuve. Let's see what this has to offer. And the first film was fine. You know, I was able to put my prejudice aside to just be like, all right, this movie was fine. And then I didn't really have much of an inkling or want to watch the second film, because I sort of felt like it was going to be a lot of what I didn't like in the first film just in the second film. But I had heard, oh, well, Austin Butler's amazing, and you get more Javier Bardem, and then there's more Zendaya with the Paul character. And none of that helped. Some of those things are better, but none of it helped. I actually like this movie a lot less than the first film. I think maybe because the expectations were a lot higher for it. So where the expectations were set, I mean, people were saying this film's got an 8.5 on IMDb. Yeah. And it's like universally loved. And I don't even know how it's universally liked. I did not enjoy it.
I think the visuals help a lot. And if you saw it on a big screen, I think that
people will say, like, I loved this in IMAX, and when I was in IMAX, it felt like everything was right on top of me, and I just don't buy that argument. I don't like that as an argument. I've heard, oh, you can't watch that movie on a small screen. You gotta. I've seen The Dark Knight on a plane. I watched that movie on a plane. I mean, I saw that movie in IMAX. I've seen big grand films on tiny little screens and thought they were great. I shouldn't have to watch a film on a 7 million foot screen in order to think that it's good. The screen that we watched it on, it's a pretty big TV. We have 5.1 surround sound all around us. It's not like we were getting cheated. I didn't watch this on my laptop or on my cell phone. So I would say that for the people who are like, well, you didn't watch an IMAX or blah, 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 to get the stuff out of the way that we did like.
Well, hold on. First off, I was going to say, I think there's this film had me think of a new segment that I'd like to call Word of the Film, which I think the word for this film is unearned. I'll get into what I mean by that as we get through. some of our review.
All right. So Suju's word is unearned. Mine is boring. In that I found the film to be boring. At any rate, let's go through over the things that we did like.
I think visually it was obviously an impressive film. Obviously the sound is great. Like it's obviously a film that has, great named actors, a great director, typically, that we enjoy a lot of his films. It's got a story that shouldn't particularly fail because it already has a built-in audience base that loves the books, and loves the original iterations of the film.
Story didn't fail universally. I mean, it made over $700 million on like $170 million budget. The film did amazingly, and it's going on and it's getting a lot of accolades and stuff like that.
Including being nominated for an Oscar.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I think the main issue. So what we liked. Over the likes.
I liked
the likes. Yeah.
The things that I liked. I really liked Javier Bardem. I always like Javier Bardem. I think to me, I think him and Austin Butler are the strongest actors in this film, or they give the strongest performances in this film for their characters. They're the most interesting people to watch. I could have used probably more of Austin Butler, probably. I could have used more of Stellan Skarsgård. I feel like he doesn't really... He gets stuff to do, but he's like sitting in a bathtub and he's like sort of floating, and he's kind of like... I sort of wish that we had got more from him. The visuals are great. There's a few shots that I really, really like. I like the way that the worms look. The worms are dope.
I was going to say the one where Timothée Chalamet has the sunset.
Yeah, and he's standing on top of the dune, and it all looks great.
It looks amazing.
That was the one shot where I was like, wow, that's actually really stunning.
Mm-hmm. So cinematography was pretty stellar. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
which you would expect in something like this. Yeah,
sure,
for sure. I would echo that. I think performance-wise, Javier Bardem, great. Austin Butler, great. Although I definitely expected to see him way more. The reason I said the word of the day for me was unearned is I feel what you're saying is that I just couldn't get like all the parts of it. So like in terms of the story, it just didn't feel like Paul earned the level of adoration that he was getting from everybody, other than Javier Bardem told me to. Like still by the end of it, still by him beating all these like different challenges and trials that he's been given, it's still like obviously passage of time has happened, but even at an almost 3-hour runtime, it still didn't feel like it actually explained enough of the story. That's like a little bit ridiculous.
I got no feel for how much time was passing in the film ever. And then I think you said that or Richard said that his whole training sequence was supposed to take place over like 5 years or something like that.
Yeah, and it was like just
I never read the book. So I don't know if people are out there and they're like, well, they explain in the book. I had a friend of mine who had said like, I get your criticisms, but in the book it makes a lot of sense, and I just filled in the blanks. If you read the book, I didn't read the book. I shouldn't have to read a 1,000-page novel to understand a 3-hour movie. Okay, let me just get that out. There's 6 hours of film between the first and the second one. All right, there's plenty of time to get the story out of the way.
Just like you shouldn't have to be a history major and have studied Napoleon in order to watch a 4-hour movie.
Yeah. This film was my year's Napoleon. A film that the trailer looks great. They get the right cast. All of it looks amazing, and I just don't care. And that was the thing. That was the thing that I felt when I was watching, and that's why I think the film felt boring, was because I'm watching them do stuff, and it's stuff that I like. I'm such a sucker for prophecies, like The Matrix. I love the fact that there's like not all of the Matrix films, just the first one, but like I love the fact that they're looking for the one, which is essentially all this film is doing for the most part, and you have to see him go through this whole training process and do all this stuff. I love that in Star Wars, between the Anakin character, the Luke character, that whole Skywalker stuff. I love prophecy stuff. So, and this one,
But people forget.
I just didn't care the whole time. I didn't care.
But I mean, people forget, like if his training session is supposed to go through a period of that long, like people forget, like the entirety, pretty much almost, of Empire Strikes Back was Luke
just training. Yeah.
You know, like his segments of that film were to the, you know, like that's what it was him training with Yoda, you know, and so like this didn't feel like he spent that much time. The love story, honestly, did not feel super earned. It felt like, again, similar to, I believe he's the prophet because Javier Bardem says he is. I believe that he is loved because Zendaya says they are.
Yeah.
Or Chani or whatever her name is.
I don't know.
But yeah, like at one point he drinks the tears of life and, you know, the elixir. And they're like, everybody's like, oh my God, he's going to die, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, at no point as a viewer do we feel like he is in any kind of danger. Because like his mom felt like she was in danger. Like when she was like, you know, you could see what's happening to the baby and you see her like convulsing.
Yeah.
Like she seems like she's in danger. But like he just seems like he's sleeping.
Yeah, it's like he drinks it, he sees a vision, and then they come back, and then people are like, and he's just like sleeping on the ground. I'm like, man, like he didn't like I would have liked to see some convulsing, some of him like dying, and there's no panic, there's no nothing. Javier Bardem's kind of like, oh no, is he not the one? And then Zendaya just does a thing, and then it's like, oh okay, so he's back. Yeah, let's. I guess.
Right, like that would actually have been a really cool moment to see more of, like while people are panicking around him, seeing like what he's seeing. So seeing more in detail visions that he's fighting or something.
I think they are doing visions at that point. It's just
kind of,
in the real world, like no
again,
one's
unearned. It's just kind of like, you know, a little anticlimactic. I mean, as a fan of, say, like Game of Thrones, it feels kind of like, are you shitting me? Like, you brought Jon Snow back so he can kill Daenerys? Like, fuck you. Like, that, like, seriously, we went through all of that turmoil just so that he could do that? Like, he's not going to actually kill the Night King or do something cool. He's just killing another woman he loves? Awesome.
Like, I'm watching it, and I'm like, I know he's coming back. And it's not one of these things where, like, I guess because the film hadn't, like, captured my sense of disbelief, like, I'm watching, I'm like, I know he's coming back, so why are we wasting time on this? You know, like, I know someone's going to bring him back. No one around him is even panicking. Why would I panic?
His mom's not panicking.
Mom's not panicking. Javier Bardem and Zendaya are the only ones who think he's going to die. That's it. Mm-hmm. And they're not even, like,
super panicked.
Even really seem like they care that much for it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, we got a special guest.
I think we might have a special guest. Snowy!
We got a special guest. It's Jon Snowball. We were just talking about you.
Jon Snow.
You're going to get brought back from the dead and then kill Daenerys Targaryen. How do you like that? How do you like that?
I killed the Night King. That's my destiny.
Oh.
That's my destiny. Anyway. And cut. So, the other unearned, I feel, was definitely, you have these badass villains. Like, you have Skarsgård, you have Austin Butler, you have Batista, and, like, there's just, like, nothing to their deaths. Like, Butler gets a little bit more.
Kind of.
There's, like, a little bit of a choreographed fight that's kind of cool.
The fight is cool. I could have used it a minute longer.
Yeah, like, it needed to be a little bit longer. Like, you have these, like, you have three badass villains, and, like, literally he just walks in and it goes, like, bleh.
Yeah.
Okay. The other one just is like, gee. Okay. And then, like, Butler is just like, okay, at least he gets a little bit of a fight, but then also, like, just kind of gets killed really quickly.
Yeah.
Like,
he doesn't get a lot of screen. He doesn't get a ton of screen time. And a lot of it is just him sort of randomly killing people. And I'm like, I guess this is like this again. Maybe this is a thing that his character does in the book or something like that. But I'm like, I was thinking about it when I was driving earlier. Like in Star Wars, Vader, he's also randomly choking people and sometimes killing people and stuff. And there's like a check on him, and that's that's a good thing. I get and I get like maybe this character doesn't have a check on him. All right, but like he's just sort of randomly killing people, and that's the way it feels. It feels like it's just. Everything feels really random. Even Bautista, maybe it's the Harkonnen race is that they're supposed to just not care about life at all, and then they'll randomly kill. Because that's what Bautista does.
You know what?
He just seems like a steroided up child.
Yeah, what it kind of feels like. It's the only criticism really I have with The Dark Knight. I know, amazing film. Sorry, I'm not trying to say anything negative about Dark Knight, but the only criticism I had with that film was I feel like what they did with Two-Face was absolutely despicable.
Oh, at the end. Yeah, that was a waste.
Why would you waste?
Yeah, that was a waste.
A valuable character and then just be like, okay. So like that's kind of how a lot of these like villains felt. It's just like you have all these great characters, you keep introducing all these amazing characters, and then you're just, oh, okay, that's
then they're
it.
Dead.
Then they're just dead.
And then
the Emperor.
Here's Christopher Walken's character. He's not useful at all.
Yeah, like let's have one of the most amazing actors of our ever and like just completely just make him feeble and just not use him for anything important whatsoever except to say we had him in our film.
Yeah.
Cool.
You literally could have had anyone do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Shame on you for doing that to Christopher Walken. Just saying.
Here's just an example of something that I just didn't like. This is the film does this repeatedly, where it builds something up, and then there's like literally no payoff. So the towards the end of the film, when the big battle is supposed to be happening, after Paul's drank the water of life, and now he knows how to do everything. You set up for this massive battle, and you're looking at, and you're like, oh my god, like the Harkonnen, all their military people are here, and the Emperor's here. They have all their people here. And it's like, wow, like they brought the whole. I think at some point they say they brought the entire standing army. They brought the entire empire. And then his big thing is like, let's fire like a single missile. I think there's 3 missiles that split off of it. Let's fire a single missile, and then we'll just attack them with worms, and then that's how we win. And they fire the missile. The missile doesn't even really hit the military. It hits behind the military, and then these big boulders come and they sort of smash, I guess, on the military, the soldiers who are on the ground, who, again, there's no sense of urgency here. The soldiers don't get up and start fighting. They just sort of like help each other up. Oh, here's your flag. Bring that up. You don't see any of them die. So I'm like, did they all just like run away from underneath these things? And then they just the freemen just come in on their worms, and then they just destroy the entire army. Like, I don't even think do you even see like much of the battle that way? I think they may go with like this drone thing where you see it from overhead. You don't really see anything going on. And then Paul just like walks right into the throne room with like, I don't know, 15 people or something like that. And they just let him go in. Like, there's no resistance. The Emperor, all the Emperor's people, all the Harkonnen people, Austin Butler's characters in there. Paul just walks right in and kills Stellan Skarsgård's character. And like, in some, like, super anticlimactic, like, unceremonious way. Maybe that's the point. But I'm like, how come all these guards are here, and it looks like there's an equal amount of guards that there are freemen, so why aren't they doing anything? Like, even if they were outnumbered, they're not doing anything? The Emperor's people aren't doing anything? The Harkonnen are doing nothing? He's just allowed to walk right in, straight ahead. They all part for him. And he walks straight ahead, kills Stellan Skarsgård, and then just walks out. And I'm like... And then, like, after that, it's, I'm gonna fight Austin Butler in a... I don't even know the connective tissue between that scene and the end scene where, like, he fights Austin Butler. Because... After he kills Stellan Skarsgård's character, I'm like, I don't care about anything in this.
He's the person the Emperor names as his like person to fight. That's how he ends up fighting Austin Butler.
Yeah, so he goes and then he fights Austin Butler's character, and he beats him because obviously he's the best at everything. And then he's goes to Zendaya and he's like, "Oh, I'll love you to my dying breath," which I'm like, dude, what are you talking about? You like. All you've done this entire film is mumble. and then he's like, oh, actually, I'm gonna marry Florence Pugh. I'm like, what? I get like someone had told, like one of you guys told me like, oh no, that's supposed to be his like betrothed.
Yeah, my understanding in terms of the whole Florence Pugh, Zendaya, Timothy Chalamet, Bing Bong situation is that, like Zendaya is supposed to be his love. She is supposed to, like, there's supposed to be some sort of a triangle thing there,
Sure.
but it's definitely supposed to be like her idea. So in the books, it's more like she presents it to him, and she's a willing participant in everything. And like for whatever reason, in the films, they also switched it so like she's very distrustful of him wanting to have power. She's very distrustful of him using the Freeman in this way. But like literally, like she is the one of the idea to be like, no, like this is what we need to do, and I'm on your side, and I'm going to be like basically your mistress. You're going to marry her because that is what the power play is actually supposed to be.
I don't really have a problem with them changing that up, honestly.
It's just, I think it's just odd. So then for him, like, it just felt it was super unromantic and unclimactic, like in general, like the way the relationship was. Again, I felt like I'm supposed to believe that you guys are in love mainly because she says that you guys are. Not because like there seemed to be like this immense chemistry between you guys. There seemed to be any kind of earned chemistry with you guys. In fact,
Zendaya spends most of the movie squatting with her friend, who she has more chemistry with than she does with Timothy Chalamet.
She honestly has better chemistry with Javier Bardem.
Yeah, she does.
So, but yeah, when he tells her, I'll love you till my dying breath, and I was like, will you?
I think you actually scoffed. Yeah, I think you scoffed when you said that.
Will you? Because like I'm not buying it like at all. Like, but alas, that just felt again unearned. There was just at one point, you said your word of the day was boring. I do know that there was at one point I was watching the film and like I was sort of. So, like, there was something I had clearly missed, and rather than do what I would normally do, which I was like, oh, let me rewind it so I can see what it is that I missed, I was like, honestly, I'm so bored by this that I'm actually just going to look it up on Wikipedia so that I don't have to spend even more time watching this than I already have. So, there's that. That doesn't speak great volumes towards it. So yeah, I gotta say it was, as far as like positives, it's mostly the visuals. I wanted to like it. I didn't mind the first one. Like I thought the first one was cool. This one just felt, and I think maybe it's a case of what's that villain movie with like the too many characters that Harley Quinn and all.
Oh, Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. I think maybe it suffered from a little bit of the Suicide Squad disease, where like they're just introducing and like re-bringing up so many characters that there's just like not enough time to get invested in any of them.
Most of the characters are from the first film. I just didn't care about them. They all felt so forgettable from the first film to this.
They are, but the thing is that you're reestablishing relationships though. So like you almost need to reintroduce them in terms of like what their new relationships are with each other. Mm-hmm. And so and also like they're changing what their importance is. Yeah. And so like again, like he's like firmly now the Messiah.
Which the whole film he's the whole film,
his mom's the Reverend Mother, whatever the fuck that means.
I mean, sure, but there's other Reverend Mothers and stuff like that, and that felt. I was annoyed by that too, because it's just like, oh, she's an outsider. They're all pissed off about the outsiders because they're going down south where all the fundamentalists are, and then they just let this outsider become the Reverend Mother like that just because Javier Bardem says so, because Javier Bardem believes that Paul is the one, and it's like, what? How does that make sense? And my friend explained it to me. And again, I shouldn't have to read a 1,000 thick ass novel to get a character's or a whole people's motivation behind this. Like these types of things, I feel like should be at least somewhat clear when Zendaya's character is like, stay with Javier Bardem, stay close because they're not gonna like you. The next scene, it feels like he's just like, oh, you're going to be the Reverend Mother now. And she's like, what? Really? Am I? And he's like, yeah, you'll be fine. And then she drinks the water of life, and then she kind of goes to sleep, and then she's fine. That's this entire film. Like, oh, Javier Bardem tells Paul that he's got to have to do this big training thing in order to ride this worm. Watch out for the sirens at night because they'll haunt you. And then it's actually a really good scene by Javier Bardem where he's like joking with them, and he's like, but they won't. But you really should watch out for them. And then he's just like out doing the sand walking, which he's already good at, of course. And then Zendaya shows up, and I'm like, oh, so she's like an aberration. She's going to show him something. She's going to trick him, something like that. Nope, this is just a continuation of the story. So the thing that Javier Bardem said didn't matter at all. And then the next scene, they're just blowing up a ship. And I'm like, is this an aberration? Like, what? No, none of it's an aberration. Oh, so what he just said was pointless. Got it. And I think that's sort of what frustrates me about like the film and the Paul character in general. He's got this whole like, he feels like Rey from The Force Awakens. Like, he's just good at everything. He knows everything. He doesn't have to really learn anything because he's already like, I guess like he's read it before. So then he just knows how to do it. I guess that's how life works. Or because Paul Atreides is the son of the Duke or whatever, that means he's like amazing at everything. I found that very frustrating. I find that very, again, unearned. I find that to be very boring. Like, maybe people like that stuff. Maybe there's something I missed. Maybe my prejudice against. I feel like I was actually trying to be as fair as I possibly could to Timothée Chalamet. Timothée Chalamet wasn't even the thing that I disliked in this film the most. Like, I will rant and rave and all this other stuff, and I like to go over the top on things, obviously. But he didn't even bother me the most. It was most of the things about this film.
Mostly the story.
The story I just didn't care about. I didn't care about the story at all. I didn't care about it. When I watched Dune 1, I was like, this is fine. This feels like something I've seen before. Like, I've seen this.
But yeah, I mean, I think the ones that have that whole concept of the one that feels actually gratifying, I guess is the great word for it, are ones where, like what we just said, in terms of, Luke with Empire Strikes Back. He spent so much time training.
And failing.
Yoda.
He gets his hand cut off.
Right, and failing. But you see his training. You see Harry Potter go through years of kind of messing up. And you see his friends messing up before he actually has to fight Voldemort. And he actually has to, like, learn actual skills. You see Katniss Everdeen. You know what I mean? Like, and so, like, things feel earned because you actually see a transition and you see them having to, like, get to know their enemy and, like, kind of battle.
In the Matrix, they literally upload Neo's
right.
In the Matrix, they literally upload Neo's mind with like how
Martial
to do. Yeah, I learned Kung Fu. And that feels like more earned than this. Because even in that one, Morpheus beats him in the fight. He fails on the first jump. The seer tells him he's not the one. Agent Smith beats the shit out of him. And then only after all that, like, this movie didn't do any of that. Paul just succeeds the entire time. Yeah. He just fails. He doesn't even fail. He never fails. And that was an issue for me. I was like, oh, he's going to go try to catch this worm, and he's not going to get it. Nope, he gets it on the first try. Okay. What?
When those kinds of prophecy / the one stories feel gratifying, it's when you can be like, okay, this person earned it. When they don't feel gratifying are things like Rey in Star Wars, where you're like, okay, so let me get this straight. Everybody else had to go through training. Anakin was like, what, 6? And he wasn't allowed to...
9. And he's too old to be...
He's too old to be a Jedi and to be trained. But she's like almost 30, and we're okay with the fact that she's just able to fly or like
however old
like,
she is.
Yeah, like she's able to somersault.
She's able to do everything. She had once heard, and now we're going on a Force Awakens thing, but she had once heard about the Force and heard that you could trick stormtroopers or whatever, and then she's just automatically able to do it.
Yeah. She can
That's how this feels.
Yeah. She can somersault over like an actual fucking plane. Okay. You know, don't even get me started on Leia never having any training and doing Mary Poppins through space. But anyway.
But Paul spends the entire film saying he's not the one, he's not the one, he's not the one. And then at the end, he's just like shouting at people that he's the one.
Right.
Like, I get that he drank I think at that point he had drank the water of life or something like that. But I'm like, and no one even tries to stop him. You know, like they stop Zendaya and they're like, if you want to talk at all, you have to do it outside, basically. And then he's shouting and no one even like stands up. But I guess people stand up to him or something like that, and then he like shouts that they had a dream once. Like, okay, I don't know. And I have to do some Timothy Chalamet stuff. So in this film, Paul, he's got two modes, and so does the Reverend Mother. I think Rebecca Ferguson. They have two modes. Paul especially, he's either just going like, the Harkonnen are gonna come in. It's gonna be really bad. We're all gonna die. I saw a dream. The dream was bad. A lot of people died. Or he's just screaming at people. Those are the only two things he does the entire film. As an actor, I just don't feel like there's no physical presence. There's no vocal presence. I mean, when he's screaming at people, I'm like, all right. I mean, I guess that's fine. But like, it's not backed by anything. I don't know. Like, nothing he did worked for me in the film. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. I don't buy that he's this great fighter with a blade. I mean, again, I buy it because they say he is, and that's about it. Austin Butler looks the part, at least, and I buy it off of him. I don't buy it off of Timothée Chalamet. I don't buy it. I don't buy it for Paul. Like, I don't know how he's described in the books. So apparently he's supposed to be a hemophiliac in the books. He looks like a hemophiliac in the movies, so I guess that's good casting. But I just don't care about if you have the main character and I don't care about him at all, it's kind of hard for me to sit through a 3-hour movie where he's most of the screen time. And this is just the central protagonist. I mean, everything revolves pretty much around his character.
Well, everything revolves around believing that his character is this important cog that everybody needs to follow. And it's just like, again, at the end of the day, my issue with it.
But you're not funny. You're not
right.
You're not inspiring. Like, he doesn't even try to inspire. He doesn't really try to inspire the people around him. He just shouts at them.
Yeah, he has two modes. He's either super quiet or he's just shouting, as you said. And then the only reason I am supposed to be left to think that he is the one is because Javier Bardem says he is. That he's in love is because Zendaya says he is. And that he is formidable is because Austin Butler is defeated by him.
Yeah.
And so it's more of a show...
Yeah,
it's more of a
tell don't show.
It's like more of a tell don't show type of situation, that I feel is like the main problem. If you're actually paying attention to the story itself, and you're supposed to continue to buy that this is a character that you're supposed to like go behind.
Yeah, I have no investment in him, and I mean, I'll watch the next one. Maybe the next one we should watch in IMAX and see if that really changes anything. I'll watch the next one strictly out of respect for Denis Villeneuve. I as much as I just chat on this film, I respect the hell out of him as a filmmaker. Like, on my mood board, 5-year board or whatever, he's in the top 3 of directors, like my favorite directors who I would love to work with the most. So like, I respect the hell out of him. I would obviously, anyone would love to work with him. And I think he makes amazing films. This one is not amazing. I didn't even come close to liking it.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those situations where probably they just had too much story that somehow they convinced themselves they could tell in 3 hours. Like, too much.
I feel like he left a lot out, and he left a lot of it on like up to the viewers because he knows the story so well. Like Denis, I'm pretty sure has wanted to tell this story. Like, he's just been a massive fan. It was like this and Blade Runner have been like the two most like influential films, or like not films but stories on him, for like his, since before his career really started. And he's a huge super fan of Dune. So I don't think it's definitely not a lack of like preparation. It's definitely not a lack of love. Like, I know for a fact he poured his heart and soul into this film, and it shows because it looks great and all this other stuff, and people love it. It's an 8.5 on IMDb. It's Oscar nominated, made $100 gajillion. That's great. But not every film works for everyone. And this film didn't work for me on almost any level. I don't know. I think you guys liked it a little bit more than me. I have my own prejudices with the film that I do my best to overcome. But
I mean, I think for me, it was definitely the fact that I did not rewind the film, and I actually would prefer to just go on Wikipedia and see what it is that I missed in the story. Because I just didn't want to have to be subjected to more of it. And that definitely is like, that's that you have a problem.
I will say this. I'll praise and then sort of backtrack on it. The editing, the pacing of the film isn't horrible. Like, it is what is it? 2 hours and 46 minutes. It doesn't necessarily feel that long. Like, it doesn't feel like, I never felt like I was slogging along with it because the story is moving along at an okay pace. But then at the same time, the editing is sort of all over the place where I'm like, wait a minute, what's happening now? And who are these people? And I'm supposed to care about these people. Why? Like I guess this isn't necessarily an editing thing, but like when Austin Butler gets sort of like seduced by this woman, and they're like, oh, he's got a weakness for women. That never comes into play. That never means anything. There's so many dead ends to all these storylines that maybe they work in the book, and maybe they worked for other people. None of these dead ends worked for me. Like, so many storylines, so many characters. I felt like you could have cut 40 minutes off this movie, and I wouldn't have missed anything. At the same time, I don't know if that would have made it any better.
I was going to say, well, we have some final, I don't know what your results are, but my final results here are 89% actually agree with us that it is overrated.
Wow.
Only 11% said, you're nuts, it's the best ever. And on I didn't get any that it's just okay. So very strong stances on mine.
On mine, last time I checked, most people really loved it. Yeah, it was like 40-40, and then 20% agreed.
I was going to say, on our Roaming Shadows page, we had 60% of people agree with us.
Oh, wow.
10% of people said, you're crazy, best movie ever. And then 30% said, it's just okay.
Yeah. And this is just, okay, this is the thing that I want to get across to people, too. This is just our opinion. Like, people get really butthurt when you don't like a movie. You don't love a movie that they love. If you loved Dune 2, write it in the comments. Don't let us shit on your parade, yuck your yum or whatever. If you liked it, like it. That's fine. Please go out there and like it and love it. And tell everyone that you loved it. This is a well-crafted film that a lot of great artists put a lot of work into. That's great. But I'm not going to tell you that I liked the movie that I didn't like at all. I just can't do it. So I think we have to have disagreement on these things, even on films that are universally liked. So I probably should have said that at the beginning, but
if you made it this far,
thank you very much, and you're one of our good friends now.
What is your vote?
So our ratings, okay. So I immediately, I think the first thing I did after watching this was I went on IMDb and I rated it. That's why I know it's an 8.5. I gave it a 5 out of 10. Almost solely out of my respect for the filmmakers and for Austin Butler and Javier Bardem's performances. That was about it. If it wasn't Denis Villeneuve who directed this film, man, I would have if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have watched it, or I would have turned it off a lot sooner. Probably would have given it like a 3.5, 4. I didn't care for this film at all. The runtime didn't, and it only made me dislike it more.
I would say it's rough. It's hard for me to give.
You saw it twice.
I did, kind of. Well, like 1.5, because like basically just watch whatever you had missed from.
Oh, right,
like,
true.
Yeah. Maybe 5.5.
Yeah, you liked it slightly more than I did.
I liked it slightly more than you did. Like, I wasn't as bothered by some things. Like, I thought the actors did the best they could with the material they were given.
I don't think so.
No?
I disagree. I think some of them did.
I don't know. That one's a rough one for me. It's tough because you can see the level of artistry and level of obviously care, especially with like cinematography and things like that people put into it. So like, who am I to say, like to shit on the parade?
It's just your opinion.
It's my opinion, but yeah, like it really. I'm a huge film lover, and like I will watch a film like 30 times over and over again. I've been begging Rich to watch The Substance with me again, and I was even disturbed with that one the first time I saw it.
I like that one.
So it's tough. Like if I would prefer to like actually look it up instead of having to subject myself through more of the runtime. It's just rough. So yeah, I'm gonna go with 5.5.
Yeah. The other performance that I would say, I think Zendaya is doing the best she can.
Yeah.
And I think her performance suffers because she has to work. Her character has to work off of Paul so much that and there's no chemistry. There's negative chemistry between them. She's doing so much work to like try to drive chemistry to this, and there's just none to speak of. And so every scene that she has with him feels really flat. But then when she's in other scenes with her friend who she's squatting with for half the film, their scenes they work together well. Her and Javier Bardem work well together, so I think she's doing the best that she can. Everyone's doing their best. I'm sure everyone's trying their best, but I didn't think that their best was enough. I felt like the storytelling was just really mediocre, and a lot of the acting suffered because of it.
Yeah.
Everything suffered because of it.
I think it's definitely one of those films where, like, it's funny because people will criticize filmmakers for, oh, you're just trying to make people watch more than one movie for blah, blah. I honestly, you know what? In this case, keep Austin Butler for 2 films. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
you're obviously going to make a third one.
Right. Like, keep some of the material that this, like, and flesh out stuff a little bit better. Like, flesh out that love story, flesh out his training, flesh out that stuff. And, and then, like, I think I would have preferred to have this film have been Austin Butler being set up as this, like, demonic, like, really force to be reckoned with villain, and Paul being trained and in love with Zendaya, and then, or Chani, whatever.
Yeah, this film would have worked better as a love story.
And then have the next one then be their confrontation. Do you know what I mean? And like
Yeah.
make it even a slightly less runtime, you know, much less of a runtime, but like it would have felt much more complete, I guess.
Earned?
It would have been more earned, right? My word of the day was unearned. There you go. So I think that's a good complete circle.
I thought the film was boring. She thought it was unearned.
And this has been our rooming review of Dune 2. What would you like us to review next?
We promise we're only giving our honest opinions. So whatever we're giving you, that's what we got.
Yeah, and sound off in the comments. If you agree with us, great. If you don't agree with us,
Comment 2 times as many times as you normally
yes,
would. We would love the engagement.
We would love the engagement. So comment below and let us know how you feel about what we just said. And if you disagree, you know, we'll engage with you. You know, be respectful, but you know, we'll engage.
Yeah. All right.
Signing off. Bye.